Welcome to What's New in AL for 2025 Wave 1, the Hacker Edition. Hey, I'm Eric, and it's that time of year. I start crying and my eyes get all fluffy because I have a thing with pollen. And at the same time, we get a new version of Business Central, so the crying has nothing to do with the new version of Business Central. That is just my condition. So just being upfront with you guys. But we just got, well, and then we have to do the spiel again. We just got Business Central, Dynamics 365, Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central 2025 Wave 1, also known as BC version 26. Also known as runtime version 15. Let's take a look at what's new. What's interesting for you and me. And actually, once in a while when I do this video, I tend to sometimes include stuff that is not part of development, but the development list is long enough for this release that go check some of the other ones for what's new in manufacturing and stuff like that. So straight off the list here, overloaded JSON object data types get value method. We have all done this. This is a big one. You know, when you have a we have a JSON object. Wow. We have a JSON object, right? And then we can do, before we have to do JSON object get, and then the key, and then we get that into a token, and then we can convert the token to a value or whatever. But you know, in most cases we know exactly what's there, and we don't need to go around. So now we can just do, get text, key, boom, get. Let's right, get all of them. Well, not all of them. There's still somehow in deep inside Microsoft, deep inside the big building, somebody decided that these specific data types are the one that are interesting to convert to and from JSON, and there are some missing from this list somehow. I would love to have just GUID, for instance. Quite often that's and I know GUID is interchangeable with strings, but it would just be proper to have get GUID, set GUID. Date formula is not here, and there's a couple of other ones that are missing. That would be nice, but boy can dream, I guess. Move tables and fields with data across extension as part of refactoring. We have been AL skillfest. Okay, we've been waiting for this. Apparently, this is not gonna work for, if you look at the video, this is not gonna work for PTs, but I have not looked into this yet. Let's see if we can go like this. So I gotta try this out. I might have a couple of scenarios where that's interesting. Anyway, it has been available for Microsoft for quite a few releases. When we went in behind the scenes and look at the code, we find the move from, move to functionality, but we were never allowed to use it. So interesting. Extend card page ID on list and list parts pages. So on a list, you specify what is the card. Well, there's no way to switch out the card page for a list if you're extending something and you want to use your own card. You can do that now. Use the new continue keyword for AL loops. So let's do that. So if we go we go repeat until true. I'm not going to deploy this because then and then we can do message 1, message 2, message 3. Right. If for some reason something, if true, that's something, right? If true, then continue. So what does this mean? This means that if we are in a loop, then these things will not get executed if you take the continue. So depending on what type of loop it is, it really works differently. So in this case, you will still have the condition here. If this is in a for loop, well, it will just go to the next one. So you can kind of, skip out of the rest of execution within a loop with continue, known from many other languages. Very nice, very nice. Read and write YAML in AL using JSON object. I think we already had that in some CU on the last version. Select extension to open Visual Studio Code from the web client. So the idea is that we can go into those different. I'm really, for some reason, if you already have the code on your machine, then why go through all the weirdness? But I guess if you go and grab some app, you can go here and work with it. Generate a launch configuration, very nice, open source from Git, get selected, download. There's probably a use case. Not for me because I already have the stuff I'm working on my machine sitting in the right folder and all connected the way it should be connected. But if you come out to a client and you wanna shortcut all the ways the stuff get deployed to that client, you can probably open stuff that way. Yeah, that sounded negative. I think it's fine. I probably think it's a bit irrelevant for most cases, and it's kind of funny that Microsoft speak with two voices. There's one voice saying that you gotta build pipelines and ALGO for GitHub and do it the right way, and then there's these guys now. Okay, here's some tools to help you do it in a very casual, janky kind of approach. Sorry, this one. And yeah, it's kind of funny. But I guess Microsoft is big enough and you want to cater to everyone. Sorry, troubleshoot clients, apps, and add-ins with telemetry. We're getting more telemetry on I think this is mainly for client add-ins actually. Yeah. So the title here is troubleshoot clients, apps, and add-ins with telemetry. That's a very broad title. This is actually, as far as I understand it, that stuff from your client add-in, your JavaScript, gets captured in telemetry now, which is very nice. Mock outbound HTTP client web service calls during testing. So one of the challenges with living in a connected world is that how do you test your code without connecting to the world? And a lot of people have created like these shim versions of the HTTP client functionality and then figure out, are we in a test scenario, then we don't call it, or if you do call it. And this is kind of Microsoft saying, okay, now there's the proper way of simulating a your code will do the call, will get your predefined return back, and then you can use that in your tests. Search, navigate, and use app symbols as context for GitHub Copilot. Yeah, that is something I have to play with. I haven't played with that yet. You can now search AL objects from downloaded simple packages from within Visual Studio Code. It makes it much easier to find related objects for inspection, troubleshooting, and inspiration. It can be used as context when using GitHub Copilot for better suggestion based on existing code. Very nice. Very nice. View build metadata in extension management page. We actually saw that, right? Up here we can see that which one this was built by something, and there's no URL to it. Validate certificates on internal web service endpoints called from AL HTTP client. So when you have a self-signed something, and you might have a web server running with this self-signed thing, and then it's not really a validated certificate. So is that a functional call or a broken call? And Business Central, as far as I understand, in some cases has actually not verified the certificates. But that is happening now. I think for on-prem there is a server setting where you can. The ability to disable certificate validation is controlled by a feature management key to allow apps or pertinent extension published to modify the code. In version 27, certificate validation will be enabled by default without the ability to switch it off. Okay. Work with multi-line strings in AL. So this is a fun one. A lot of other languages have the ability to define a multi-line string. So let's get rid of this weird never-ending loop here. So let's say you want to format this nicer. What you can now do is that if you put an at in front of a string, this is now a multi-line string. So right now it's the exact same thing, but if I do this, then this is a multi-line. You can see the string continues. So if we run this, we hear app published hello world. So the interesting part here is that, and I just noticed that now. So what is this? If I do this, what happens then? The same thing. What if I do this? Okay, so now we're actually getting into this is probably HTML-ish. This is what you're seeing is not a. I think we can actually test this in a different way. So let me go back to this. We go back to this one for a second here. I wanna see what's happening. So we create a string. So string equal that thing message. Let's do something like this just to completely mess with it. So this is the string, and then this is the length of the string. So now we get 26. So I do this. What do we get now? 36. Okay. So, and then we do this. So now we remove the how many characters we had there. Now we should be 28, so there's 2 for the line break. So you have to think about that, doing multi-line, even though the message, because so HTML is weird, that if you're in right, if you're doing HTML here, and then I go hello world. So when rendering, this is the same as this. So white space is in HTML considered one space basically, unless you do the whatever it's called, the non-breaking space. That's an N and B like that, right? That's a space, so you can have multiply those. So otherwise, white space is always just one space. So that's why it looked like the 2 lines were aligned. But in reality, there were still 8 characters sitting there and in the string. So you have to align your string like this, so it doesn't look very nice in the editor. So if we continue, right, this is how the multi-line, so there's no indentation happening. Okay, back to the list. Go away. Use new properties on a report layout. So there's new property, there's obsolete state, and there's the Excel layout multiple data sheets. I think we got those in the last version also. But I can't remember. But the idea is whenever you create an Excel layout, whether you put all the data in the same data sheet or you put the data in multiple sheets, one per table. Self-service app key vault onboarding for app source apps. App source app for business can read secrets from Azure Key Vault owned by the publisher's partner. However, in order for this feature to be available to partners' app source app, they have to go through a manual process and reach out to us, which could lead to waiting times. What? And Azure Key Vault's availability required for a new version of the app after registration. To streamline this process, we have now made onboarding to Azure Key Vault part of the Azure App Source submission itself, which also implies that the app can immediately use its key vault. Nice. Use new increment string parameter to change integers by more than one in string variables. So you can increment. So this is a super old function. Like if you have, let's go back and have our string here. So invoice 1000, right? Then you can go increment string s. So let's run this. Now it's invoice 1001. Now we're here. You see the nice quality of life. Fact boxes can be resized. Very nice. Very nice. So what we can do now is that there's an overload here. On how much you want to increment with. So it doesn't necessarily only have to be with one. So that is very nice. Embed Power BI content in web client with new page type. So this is one of, you remember the 6 months ago, there were a new page type that didn't really work. That was a different one, but I can't remember now. Keep me honest in the comments, will you? But now we get a new page type, which is kind of interesting. It's called, let's see what they call it. I think they call it user control host. Let's try that. So if we create a new page, test, page type, user control host. So this is interesting. So what is user control host? User control host is a page that will only have, in reality, it can also be page without a menu. That is even more accurate in reality. So there's no space taken at the top. The user control host will just, so if we go and say layout here, and then area content, right, there is only content, there's no fact boxes, and then we need to add a user control, and we'll just here add the Microsoft. Now let's do web page viewer. There we go. Trigger. Oh, trigger on controller in ready. Curve page. I probably do this. Curve page dot navi dot web dot navigate to https hogart.com. Then we need to go into our launch JSON and make sure that that's the page we start. Hit it. He said, hit it. Apart from not navigating, you see that there is nothing else. The page is completely blank. Microsoft need this for the Power BI pages, but we can use it for other things. But it's just page without a menu, and other distractions. You can only have one control city on it. So it's not really a page where you can have other things. They will only host that one. But the main attraction because you can still put a single user control on a cart page, but then you get a menu. Okay, we are almost at the end. Convert simple type values to text using new ToText method. This is interesting. So what you can do is, like, let's create a decimal here. Then we can go and say d.toText, and ToText will, let's do maybe we need to clean this up a bit so there's not too many numbers. So d equal 1 2 3 4 5 6. Here we go. Then we need to start the right page again. There we go. 22. That's what we're extending. So of course, it doesn't really make any sense because there is an implicit ToText happening on a message parameter. This one does have an overload, I thought we could overload this. Well, I guess we can't. Convert the value to text equivalent to calling format value 00. I thought there should be an overload. Am I completely missing? Let's try with a date. And I need to make sure that we are set for runtime 15 for sure. My impression was that there was an overload. Okay, so on date there is. And here's the thing that, so I'm on my way to, this is the middle of the night, and early in the morning I'm jumping on a plane to go to the Directions conference. So if you have questions you want to answer, hey Eric, can you ask Microsoft this? Put them in the comments if you're still with me here 25 minutes in. But this one says invariant, equivalent to calling format value, 0,9, but invariant 9 in format is SQL. I know that SQL might be the same as invariant, but is it in all cases, especially when it comes to date times? So dt equal current date time, and then we're gonna do dt. Does this one have an overload? Yes. Comma format dt, 0,9. Are we getting the same thing here? We are. It took a second or two to actually read through. So maybe but if you go into the Business Central format and find the format command, then you see that 9 is called XML format, not necessarily invariant. It might be the same name to something. Okay, as you were. But it's weird that, okay, let me just verify. Decimal did not have d.ToText, no overload on decimal. This is one where we need it for sure. Huh, okay. I'll remember to check in with Microsoft on that. Create lists and dictionaries of interfaces in AL. I actually did something like this, but I had to use an array because I couldn't do list of interface or dictionary of interface. So I think this is nice. I like this. Generate launch JSON file from a web client. We saw that, so that's great. Running objects in action defaults to UI descriptor on target object. Running objects in actions defaults to UI descriptors on target object. When adding actions in AL, developer can specify properties like caption, tooltip, about section, about title. Sometimes actions are just used to run specific objects. So to ensure consistency and reuse with these, such action now defaults to the caption, tooltip, about section, about title of the targeted object. This also ensures that the existing action will benefit from tooltip run. I think this is brilliant, but this will potentially change the behavior of your app. Let me explain how right now. So you can run into that this actually will be a problem. So if you are sloppy, I think that's where we need to start. If you are sloppy, right, and you have created an action and you do like this, open the bank statement here, Cheryl, and then you do run object page banks account statements. Right. That's probably in the application area since this is an extension object. No. This, I've seen this, right? So old style, the action did not have a caption, so whatever you put on the action name, I believe. Well, we can try it out right away. Let's try it out, see if what happens. I have deleted my older sandboxes, so we can see that it doesn't do what they tell us. So this one still says, so this is the old behavior, right? So what I'm saying is apparently this is not active yet, or April. We are April. Huh. Anyway, when this works, what I assumed would happen was that since this action does not have anything, and we're just opening a page that has a caption, that caption would be used, and thereby your app might change because you did stuff like this. So that's something to consider. Anyway, that was the last e-commerce. We're not going to talk about e-commerce. So the next place we want to take a look is here, and we just want to double check because last 6 months ago we realized that the changelog in here contains stuff that the what's new list did not cover. So mocking HTTP calls, we got all that good stuff. Test HTTP, there's how to create the handler, that's very nice. Searchable download symbols, we have a UserControlHost page type, we got that. Multi-line strings, we got that. Continue, we got that. Preview support in file. So file.view from stream file.view means that you don't have to build your own PDF viewer anymore. Lots of us, myself included, have built a PDF viewer so we can view the content of a PDF file inside Business Central in a UI, which is weird because Microsoft have one. That's how they show a preview print. But now we get access to the same thing. Very nice. We got the new functions on JSON object, minus all the field types that are missing. Increment string, and then some bugs fixed, and we like bugs getting fixed. Reporting, some obsolete state stuff added. We got a new trigger on report trigger called on pre-rendering, so you get even more control on reports. Add new report property target format against the current output format. HTTP client, the use server certification validation property to the client, so you can disable it. Set autocalc fields on record ref. That's nice. I think we're still missing a few more. Field transfer is not on record ref, and I think there's one or two more that we're missing. But this is nice. This means that now I can add this to my toolbox, so I can support set autocalc fields in my homebrew version of AL in the toolbox. ToText, we got that. Optimized for text search will now cause an error if used on non-normal tables or fields. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. What is a normal table? That could be a CRM table. That could be a temporary table. That could be a Microsoft Graph table, stuff like that, where it's not really stored in the database, right? It's sitting somewhere else and just adding as a proxy to something else. And is there anything else that actually had the run object property? We agreed I used the run object. Yeah, I did this. So somehow that doesn't work. Now we can get the call stack. So if you needed to get the call stack, and I know this is very specific to certain people, myself included, actually getting the call stack of where we are, you have to use a dirty trick, which was a try function and throw an error and then recover from that error to get the call stack. Now you can just ask for the call stack. Why is that needed? Well, sometimes it could be nice when you're doing testing. Again, going back to the mock calls and stuff like that, to know where you come from. Sometimes just to figure out if you have something that is a place where I will use this. Let me explain that instead of is that sometimes you need to subscribe to an event. And that event gets triggered by all sorts of things, but you only actually want to do something on the event when it's you who has triggered it. And right now we do the weird things with a single instance code unit, and saying that now it's me, and then hopefully nothing else happens between that. But with this, in an event, you can actually take a look at the call stack and see, it is myself who has triggered this, then I'm going to do the thing I want to do. So that's very nice. And usually at this point in the video, I will go and say, okay, but then I decompiled one of the DLLs and here's all the other things that I have found. But to be honest, I have not found anything. So the list is here, and we can find. Here's date that gets a ToText. I guess we can go and look and see on decimal. So decimal gets a ToText. But decimal doesn't get the invariant. See here, when we go back to date time, we get the invariant parameter, but no parameters for decimal. But other than that, I have not found anything here. These are all the new functions oh no, I did find one thing. I just clicked on it. Label is now, so before you could not use all the fancy if let's say we have a label, L for label, hello YouTube, and then we can do S equal L dot. You couldn't, the string functions was not available on the label before. They are now. Small quality of life things, but I'll take it. But other than that, I think they have been very thorough in actually documenting everything when you combine the two sources. So good work, Microsoft. And the whole look. Let's look behind the curtain and find surprises is kind of ruined for me. So good work, Microsoft. That's BC26. A lot of good stuff here. I'm excited for a lot of these things. The overload to JSON objects, quality of life improvement. Thank you. The move tables. I need to figure out whether the does not work for PCs or not. We have a lot of customers out there with 5 years of accumulated things, either in too many extensions, or they've switched partner and they still have one extension that only holds some tables from another partner, or stuff like that, and everything is PCE. So I have to figure out if that is true, that it does not work for PCs. Continue in loops. Nice. It's not revolutionary because a single if statement can accomplish the same thing in most cases. We got the new UserControlHost page type. I think that's great. Multi-line strings, very convenient, especially these days where you're suddenly writing prompts also. So the prompt is a string, right? So you can format it nicely in your code, and that'll just work. So again, quality of life, I like it. Yeah, I think that's that. So thank you for sticking with me. If you're at directions and you see me, come and say hi, and let's chat. If you're not at directions, comments below and say hi, and we can chat. But if you need more AL hacking, some actual code going on, then this video is for you. It's a good one. I'll see you there. Take care. Bye.